محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من يوم الدين. It is a great bounty and gift from God to give us the love of Hussein alayhi salam, and that each and every one of us, we have to thank Him. Thank God that He has given us this love, and to persevere and try to keep this love that you have. Some of our students came to the late Ayatollah Bahjat and asked him, give us some advice. And he told them, you're good right now, try to stay good. This staying good is the key to success. That now we're at the Majlis of Imam Hussein, but God forbid, how do we know what will happen to us to the end of our lives? That's why we have to worry. We have to not become arrogant. We have to always think that there is a very dangerous journey in front of us, and we do not know if our actions are accepted. When we look at Ziyarat Ashura, we read, Allahumma fada'if alayhim al-la'n mink. May God curse the enemies of Imam Hussein, wal-adhab al-alim, and to give them a painful chastisement. I ask you, what is one of the worst things for a person that is Husseini? That is, God forbid, to be resurrected with the enemies of Imam Hussein. Even if we think about the painful punishments of Jahannam, of the hereafter, but the fact that we will be placed, God forbid, if we sin, if we are bad, if we slip, if we make mistakes, we will be raised with the enemies of Imam Hussein if we become bad people. This is a fear that all of us should have. It's not only that we should have hope and love. Sometimes coming to the majalis of Imam Hussein, there's so much nur and light, and we believe in intercession. But also we should think about fear. And we were talking about how to refrain from sinning. One of those methods, and that we can learn, inshallah, from the companions of Imam Hussein, is to think about death. When you think about death and you think about the reality of death, this wakes you up from slumber. And when you learn from the traditions from Imam Ali alayhi salam that this world is a bridge, Antara is a bridge, when we pass this bridge, do not build it, just pass it. These are advice that we should constantly keep in us throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout our lives. You know, as we say, put it around yourself, these pieces of advice. Because if you forget about death, if you forget about the ultimate destiny that we're going to, we will be able to hurt ourselves. And one of the best ways to stay away from evil, one of the best ways to stay away from haram, is to think about death. Look at this tradition from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Tuhaf al-Uqul is a book I recommend for you to read. It has the traditions from the different Imams, and this tradition is from Imam Sadiq to Abdullah ibn Jundab. He tells Abdullah ibn Jundab, Al-khayru kulluhu amamak. What does it mean when we say all good is in front of you? Wa inna sharra kullahu amamak. And evil, all of it is in front of you. What does that mean? Don't we have evil in this world? Don't we have good in this world? When you say in front of you, in the next world, you will see evil. In the next world, you'll see khayr. What does that mean? It means that all the trials, tribulations, and pains you have in this world are nothing compared to the hereafter. It's nothing. And all the blessings you have gotten, all the fun that you had in this world is nothing compared to the hereafter. Why is this so? I'm sure we've all studied mathematics here. What is a number compared to infinity? Zero. Some compare this world like a blink of an eye, like this, compared to the hereafter. Others say that's even too long. Compared to infinite, that's too long. Think about it. When some of our scholars like Allameh Tabatabai, in the middle of class, he's teaching maybe philosophy, he's teaching something else, will tell the students, you have an infinity in front of you. Pay attention, you have an infinity in front of you. So we're in this world to gather as much as we can. And we're here to benefit ourselves. We're here to stay away from harm. And we said that this is the most important thing that a believer does. He thinks of his own benefit, and we said this isn't being selfish necessarily. Because we are thinking of ourselves, and we are thinking of the person that is giving us those blessings, which is Allah, and we are falling in love with God. But at the same time, this shouldn't allow us to become arrogant, to think that we are the chosen. Didn't we have people in history that think they were the chosen, or they were maybe chosen at that time, and how they rebelled against God and the prophets of God? In some of the other traditions, we have waj'al al-maut nasba aynaik. The Prophet of Islam tells Abu Dhar, put death in front of you, right in front of your eyes. Wherever you go, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout your lives, just ask yourselves, what would happen if I died? And it could happen to anybody. We have people in communities that I get messages from all the time, do a fatah for this person, do a fatah. How do we know if this is the last Muharram that we're going to be in? Don't we are recommended to pray, when we pray, do the farewell prayer as if this is your last prayer? Or if you come to the majlis of Imam Hussein, how do you know this is your last majlis? How do you know that these tears you have, this might be the last time that you're crying, and that next year, this time, we will not be here. We might not be alive. When we think about when we think about how to control our desires, and we said the biggest factor in our destruction is our desires, our lower desires. Desires that could take us to the roads of dangers and make us fall off the cliff, fall off the mountains. What is the best way to control your desires? What is, as if you're putting water and extinguishing the flames of your anger, you're extinguishing the flames of your passions, of your lower desires. Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha teaches us this. He says, أحي قلبك بالموعظة, and live in your hearts with mu'adha and advice. Seek advice, get advice from the prophets, and your heart will be alive again. When you hear the hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Ahlul Bayt, one of the reasons I choose to read so many narrations is so you don't listen to my words. You listen to the words of light. Kalamukum nur Ahlul Bayt. Your light, your words are light. They have an effect. So we listen to the speech of the Ahlul Bayt. وَأَمِتْهُ بِالزَّهَادَةِ. You disdain from the world. Kill your heart. He says, live in your heart with mu'adha. Kill your heart with zahada, from abstaining from the world. وَغَوِّهِ بِالْيَقِينِ. And make it strong with yaqeen. وَنَوِّرْهُ بِالْحِكْمَةِ. And enlighten it with hikmah and wisdom. وَذَلِّلْهُ بِذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ. And make it humble with remembering God, with remembering death. That's what turns off our desires. When you think that you have plans of the world, you have long desires, it's good to plan, but you have plans that are only for the world. You have material wishes, and these material wishes are causing you to forget about your entire purpose in this life. You say, what happens? I want to, I need to have this life. Some people, are like this, unfortunately. I need to have this car. I need to have this home. I need to live this life, no matter if it's that money is haram or halal, I don't care. I have to reach it. So then you tell yourself, well, what if you just were to die? Huh? What if you were to die tomorrow? What good would that home do for you? What good would that car do for you? That will only do good for you if you spend it in the way of God. If you keep it for yourself, how can you keep that? By using it in the way of God. So using death to control us, to be able to remember our entire purpose of life is very crucial. We're advised to remember death, advised to go to the graveyards. Advised because when you think of death, you think of the real journey, real life. And some of the verses of the Quran that talks about the hereafter as being the real life. That this isn't even real life for us. We think it is. And that is the problem that we have. That the more we love the dunya, the more we're attached to the world, and I'm telling myself this, the more we will sin, the more we will be fooled, the more we will be tricked. It's like putting candy in front of a little kid. We'll come run and grab it. So Allah, for us to become better people, to become good servants, has placed and reminded us of hell all over the Quran. Maybe 1/3 of the Quran is about hell, or heaven and hell, the hereafter. Look at some of the verses in the Quran. And it's important for us to read these and remember these and to ask ourselves, is there any guarantee that we're saved from this? Do you have a letter from God that says, free pass? If you do, please give me one too, inshallah. Do we have a pass? No, we do not know. We do not know what is going to happen to us. And we'll talk about that. That silence that there is, we don't know if our actions are accepted. We don't know where we are. Many people, they ask, a lot of the urafa, they ask you, am I going to heaven or hell? Tell me, what's my position? Well, the entire purpose is you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know what's going to happen. It's in your harm. If you are good right now, and I tell you, not me, some person says, from this side to this side, well, you're all lovers of Imam Hussein. I cannot give an example like this. But say, if they were to give example of people, say this side to this side is going to heaven, and there's a guarantee, what would happen? They would stop trying. They already passed. Okay, I already passed. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to stop trying. If I told you you had a test and you're already going to ace it before it, would you keep studying for it? No, okay, I passed. Alhamdulillah. If you had a test the next day and I told you already failed, would you study? No. You say, I failed. So Allah doesn't want to give us, there is a silence of where we're going to go, so that if you're good, you keep trying harder. And if you're bad, you don't leave the rahmat Allah, you don't have yas, you don't have despair. So it benefits us for the silence that we don't know right now. Maybe somebody will be here, they will be with Imam Hussein exactly. So maybe some people will be lower, but we don't know. So this silence is actually helping us. When we look at some of the verses of the Holy Quran about hell, we see, for example, inshallah, Allah protects us all from the hellfire. وَلَا تَعَامٌ إِلَّا مِنْ غَسْلِينَ. Ghisleen is translated as the discharge of wounds. It is a food of the people of hell. And the reason why I'm reciting these is for us to wake up. Look at the Quran is mentioning this so that we can wake up. There's ghisleen. People will be eating ghisleen. What is ghisleen? It is something in the traditions it has. If you put it on the other side, if you were to bring this ghisleen in this world and to put it on the other side of the world, say we're in the west, you put it in the east, you put it on the opposite side, it is so hot and damaging that the people, their brains would fry from the other side of the world. This is in the traditions. I'll read it for you so you don't think I'm just saying it. وَلَوْ أَنَّ دَلْوَ الصَّوْبِ مِنْ غِسْلِينَ فِي مَطْلَعِ الشَّمْسِ لَغَلَتْ مِنْهُ جَمَاجِمُ مِنْ مَغْرِبَهَا. If a bucket of it was spilled in the east, the brains and the heads of those in the west would fry. So the hereafter we're learning is in terms of quality, it's in terms of being a qualitative position that it has, is completely incomparable with any fire that we're talking about in this world. And then that tradition that I read from the beginning, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, لَأَنَّهُمَا بَاغِيَانِ, because it lasts forever. So when you imagine something that's lasting forever, a danger in front of us that's lasting forever, and you have a danger that is going to harm us in no way that we can compare in terms of quality, we should become afraid. We should stop sinning. Right? Not that Allah, or my teacher, Ayatollah Mushtahid, he keeps giving this so we don't, you have to always inject some fear, inject some hope. Inject some fear and inject some hope. He says that Allah didn't open up a kebab store. He says He didn't open up a kebab store, don't worry. He says that everyone's going to be fried and you're just going to make sure, this side fries and then you look at this side cooks too. I don't know if you've been to the kebab stores that they do a lot of kebab. He says that these are basically for us to awaken our ubudiyat, and being a slave of God can be come out from within us. That we don't become arrogant and that we don't rebel against God. God put hell not for us to enter it, so that we can say that, talk to Him and yearn and call Him in the beautiful ways in the du'as. You say in Du'a Kumail, how can you take me to hell? Imam Ali says to God, how can you take me to, basically, how can you take me to hell? And I'm remembering you. So it is a way for the abd, of the servant of God, to talk to his Lord and his Master that is all-powerful, and to tell and to do, and show his love and say, Allah, save me. I need you. Save me. I need your help. It is a way for us to instill love of our Master in a humble way, not in an arrogant way. It's a very humble abd that is going to be punished. And so Allah, and some of the du'as we have is so beautiful that it says, even if you were to put me in the hellfire, I will tell everybody that I love you. Some of the ma'asumin in our du'as. Even if you were to put me in the hellfire, imagine being burned in the hellfire, that I would proclaim to everybody that I love you. So we learn from hell, not only is it we said not just so God wants to punish us, He wants to punish us and hurt us. No, He wants us to benefit from hell, from the fear of going to hell. He wants us to be more humble because we see this danger for us. He wants us to cling on more to Him and to be afraid and attach and hold Him tighter and stronger. When we look at other traditions, for example, we have traditions that the breath, the zafir, if it were to scream, وَلَوْ زَفَرَتْ جَهَنَّمْ زَفْرَةً لَا يَبْقَى مَلَكٌ مُغَرَّبٌ وَلَا نَبِيٌّ مُرْسَلٌ. If it were to scream while breath and breathe out zafir, opposed to shahiq. So you have an inhale, some say zafir, and you have a shahiq. So one is an inhale, one is an exhale of Jahannam. As you inhale and exhale. If just one of the inhale or exhales were to remain, إِلَّا خَرَّ جَاثٍ عَلَى رُكْبَتَيْهِ, the angel or messenger would fall on their knees, pleading to their Lord to save them. Just hearing the zafir or shahiq of Jahannam. Angels, prophets, not me, you, but we will hear in the hereafter. Other traditions that make us more humble, if you have the actions, and this is the tradition the Prophet gave to Abu Dhar, if you have the actions of 70 prophets, you will still be afraid of what you see in the Day of Judgment. 70 prophets. Or do we have the actions of 70 prophets? Do we have the action of one prophet? Do we have the action of half a prophet? Do we have the actions of, No. So we have a danger in front of us, and it is as if we are in a well, and underneath us there's fire coming up, and we can only cling on to the rope of God. We can only cling on to Allah, and how the traditions say, once Imam as-Sadiq was explaining the ahkam to somebody, was explaining him the rulings, and then at the end, he tells him basically that you are in need of, when your spirit reaches your hulqum, reaches your throat, you are in need more of us than this knowledge that I'm giving you. I'm giving you the ahkam, I'm giving you, say, beliefs. But do you know when you need us the most? During death. During death you need us the most. That is the scariest part. But there's good news. فَمَنْ يَمُوتْ يَرَنِي. There's a tradition from Imam Ali. And whoever dies will see his master, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. This is the rahmat of Allah. This is why we need Imam Hussein. Because they are the rahmat of Allah. When you talk about the immediately, I don't know, if you had something very scary befall you, who do you call? Personally, this is a personal question. A lot of people call Abu al-Fadl Abbas. It's interesting, even some of the Christians in Iran, it's known that they have this attachment to Abu al-Fadl Abbas. They say, oh, Abu al-Fadl Abbas of the Muslims, come to my help. Who do you call? You call Ali, you call Fatima, you call Imam Hassan, Hussein, the Prophet. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us this favor, given us this chance to know them, to cling on to them, because there is a very dangerous journey in front of us. Look at some of the other narrations about heaven, because whenever you talk about hell, you should talk about heaven, and this helps us, our nafs, control our desires. We say, Jahannam, fear of Jahannam. It's very interesting. They say some of the prophets of God would just only cry for fear, out of fear. They would only cry from the chastisement of God. And then some of the other prophets would only cry for hope and the mercy of God and the bounties of heaven. And until the Prophet of Islam came and he taught us to cry for both. To cry for hope and to cry out of fear. To cry for the blessings that God has given you and to thank Him, and also to cry out of fear of punishment. And this is how we're supposed to be. Khawf and raja. Balanced fear. Balanced hope. Not that you fear God so much that you say, oh, forget it, it's too difficult. Not that you are so hopeful in the mercy of God. They say, oh, God will forgive me. Whatever I do, He will forgive me. You're fearful and yet you're hopeful. Let's bring some hope. Let's bring some good news. Ya Abadar, in this tradition, لو أن امرأة من نساء أهل الجنة. If a woman from the women of paradise, اطلعت من سماء الدنيا في ليلة ظلمة, if she came in a dark night, one of the women of paradise, لضاءت لها الأرض أفضل مما يضيئها القمر ليلة البدر. The entire world would lighten up as the moon, more than the moon in a full moon lights up the earth. Just one lady of paradise, one of the blessings of paradise. Her fragrance, if her fragrance was present, it would spread across the entire world. So Allah is encouraging you, to inshallah act good. So we have both of these ni'mats of hell and heaven. And we have the fact that Allah does not want us to enter hell, and He wants us to fear Him. He wants us to call Him. He wants us to remember Him. And at the end, He wants us to be a better abd and servant. And that is one of the reasons why maybe when you talk about the hereafter, it is so important. Talking about the hereafter, it makes us humble. There are things in the traditions when you read about that if it didn't exist, man would never lift his head, would never bring his head down. He would always be arrogant. God put poverty, God put sickness, and God put death. He put these three things for us so that we can become humble. We can think about, that we don't know what's going to happen to us. We don't know the trials that we have, tribulations. We can't promise that we are the favorite of God. That He makes us abd, a humble abd. And when you look at the other side, what is the attribute of shaitan? What are the attributes of the enemies of Imam Hussein? Unfortunately, many of the attributes of the enemies of Imam Hussein, they were great worshippers. Did you know that Shimr was a hafid of the Quran? Did you know that Ibn Muljam, they say, was a hafid of the Quran? Why do we think that they became so misguided? How come shaitan worshipped Allah for 6,000 years and rebelled against Him? So their worship is satanic worship. Their worship is worship out of arrogance, not humble worship. The worship that we learn from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is humble worship. And I said, remember the story, the worship we have from Lady Khadija is at the end, when she sacrificed everything for the Holy Prophet. She is afraid of death. She was afraid of the grave. This is what we learned, that even if you sacrifice, you're the richest lady in Arabia, the richest person in Arabia. You have thousands of servants, thousands of camels going left, right. You have a huge home, and you sacrifice all of it. At the end, you see yourself in debt. You don't say, I spent all this money. I spent everything I had. We learn to be humble. We learn to be, ubudiyyat should make us more humble towards God and more humble towards creation. Unfortunately, this is one of the dangers of religion, is that when we worship God with only worship, we become arrogant. And you say, oh, look at him, he doesn't do Salatul Layl. I do Salatul Layl. I become arrogant. Oh, look at him, he doesn't help out in the masjid. I help out in the masjid. Over and over, you're becoming more arrogant, and you're drifting away from Imam Hussein, becoming, na'udhu closer to the enemies of Imam Hussein. And that is, you're supposed to say, the Fatima says that one of the purposes of salat is to take away kibr from us. You do sujood to God to become more humble, but we're doing sujood to God and we're getting more arrogant. So it's very detrimental. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad. When you look at some of the narrations, just so we want to align ourselves with Imam Hussein. We want to be a humble servant of Imam Hussein. We don't want to have any amount of arrogance. Look at some of the traditions. Some of the traditions, and I'll maybe finish with this tradition. It's in Al-Kafi. It says, وَقَالَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ لَدَاوُودَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ يَا دَاوُودَ بَشِّرِ الْمُذْنِبِينَ. O Dawood, give glad tidings to the sinners. وَأَنذِرْ الصِّدِّيقِينَ, and warn the truthful. So in this tradition, Dawood alayhi salam is being told to give advice to the mudhnibeen. To give glad tidings to the sinners. To warn those that are truthful. فَقَالَ كَيْفَ, how can I give glad tidings to the sinners, and how can I warn the siddiqeen? قَالَ بَشِّرِ الْمُذْنِبِينَ أَنِّي أَقْبَلُ التَّوْبَةِ. Tell the sinners that I will accept repentance. وَأَعْفُ عَنِ الذَّنْبِ, and I will forgive sin. وَأَنذِرِ الصِّدِّيقِينَ أَلَّا يُعْجَبُوا, but tell the truthful, tell the good, tell the pious, warn them. The Prophet Dawood is being told to warn us. If we think we are good, if we are the Siddiqeen, we're being warned. أَلَّا يُعْجَبُوا بِأَعْمَالِهِمْ. Don't be proud about your actions. Don't have ujb. فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ عَبْدٌ أَنْسِبُهُ لِلْحِسَابِ إِلَّا هَلَكَ. There will be nobody that on the day of judgment they'll be accounted for, that they will be destroyed. A very scary tradition. Don't think that your actions are very good. Don't think I went to Hajj, I pray, I come to the center, therefore, alhamdulillah, I must go to heaven. It says anybody that goes in the day of judgment and is going to be weighed, his actions, he will be destroyed. There'll be nothing left. Tell the Siddiqeen this, he says. But tell the sinners, on the other hand, that I will forgive their sins. What do we take out of this narration? We take out from this narration that we never know if our actions are accepted. إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين. I accept from the muttaqeen, I accept from those that have taqwa. We don't know if we have taqwa, if the rest of our actions will be accepted or not. So these narrations are a wake-up call for us, and it is teaching us to be in the line of being humble and wanting the mercy of Allah. It is teaching us that when you hear narrations that my actions might be nothing. It's very interesting that there's a story, they say, that once one of the Jewish brothers, it's an old story, but they say that they said that, you know what, I don't want God to judge me based on His fadl, on His grace. I want God to judge me on His adl and justice. So they said, okay, and they counted for all his actions. He says, look how much I worshipped God my entire life. Look what God gave me, like a pomegranate and bread. 2 types of food, that's it. But I worshipped 70 years and I got 2 types of food. 2 types of food, 70 years. What happened to him? They counted, the angels counted. He says, all your worship is equal to like half a pomegranate. That's it, that God gave you. So we're taught to ask from His fadl, from His grace. Because if it's not for His grace, if it was for His justice, you will be accounted for the entire rules of accepting everything. That you have the correct beliefs, that you have the correct actions, that you have taqwa, that your actions were done out of sincerity, that your actions are done without for any other showing off or riyah. When you think about this, we get very scared. And this is one of the best ways for us to separate ourselves from the dangers of ujr. One of the scholars said that whenever I speak my entire experience of going on the minbar, I can summarize it into 2. One is all I do is whenever I go to places where people are good, I warn them to be more humble. Because arrogance will make us become destroyed. And then when I speak to other people that are sinners, I give them advice for them and I give them hope. This, and not to become ma'yus, not to lose hope of God. So when we look at these narrations and we want to stay away from sin and we want to align ourselves with the actions of Abi Abdullah alayhi salam, Imam Hussein, we understand that we should be humble, not like now Ibn Muljam Shirb, not like the worship of Satan. And whenever we do actions that are good, we thank God for it. So we do not know if our actions are accepted. We do not know where our position is. There's a chance that we might go to hell. And to put in this advice that I mentioned, death in front of us. What would happen if we were to die right now? And that we have an eternity in front of us, that this life is, even if it's 10 years, 20 years, 30, 50 more years we live, it will end with a blink of an eye. The more we gather in this world, the more we trade our life, the more we will have an everlasting castle, palace, trees, closeness to the Ahlul Bayt. We'll be building our homes in the future. So my humble advice to us is to put death in front of us and to fear God. At the same time, have hope of Him as we've come to the majlis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And we learned that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is Safinatun Najat. It's the ship of salvation. Without the Ahlul Bayt, it says that we will be ruined. Our actions, lil hisab illa halak. Our actions will be ruined. Our hisab will be ruined. We will be destroyed. It is during the times of most need that we could say, Ya Hussein. We call his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. To strengthen this call, how we can call Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If we can dim the lights, I'd appreciate it. Once they said there was a son and father that were going to be punished. And the punisher first started with the father and said that you have to be whipped. He, as you know, maybe you don't know, whipping is completely painful. Some people, they pass out after a few whips of lashes, especially when it's on the skin. So the father said, "Oh, let me go first." And the hakim, the judge, is looking, and he's saying to him, he gets whipped maybe 100 times, 50 times. He says, "Okay, now it's time for his son." When the hakim looks and the punisher whips his son, once the father cries and says, we whipped you 100 times, you said nothing, but now your son gets whipped once and you cry. He said that you whipped me 100 times on my body, but this whip, you whipped my heart. This is the feeling that those that right now that God gave them the blessings, that they are parents, they know what it means that when their child gets hurt, that it hurts the parents 100 times more. And once we understand this, maybe we can understand a little bit about the Jihad Akbar of Imam Hussein. What was his Jihad Akbar? What was his greatest strife that he had? It was the loss of his son Ali Akbar. That in front of him, the most beautiful, as it says in the Maqatil, the beauty of Ali Akbar, the most handsome of men, comes to the battlefield. The most similar to the Prophet in his behavior, in his looks, comes to Karbala, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam has to let him go. It's very difficult for a father. Some say when you go to Karbala, do any roda or musibat that you want, but don't mention Ali Akbar in front of Imam Hussein. They asked one of the Maddas, they said, "Can you recite for Imam Hussein?" He said, for Ali Akbar, he said, "If you remove the shrine of Imam Hussein, put it somewhere else, I'll recite for Ali Akbar. I cannot recite Ali Akbar in front of Imam Hussein." Some take this as the worst musibat of Imam Hussein. Some take Ali Akbar as the worst musibat of Imam Hussein. Some take Abu al-Fadl as the worst musibat. Imam Hussein, how were you tested? How many pains did you have? It's not just one. Each one of these would destroy a person. Is it when he had to take, from the beginning, Muslim ibn Aqil was martyred. Then the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil on the day of Ashura, Hamida. Or then his nephews, Qasim. And then we have Abdullah, his orphan nephews. Then we have the sons of Lady Zainab, Own and Muhammad. How many different things did Imam Hussein have to bear, that he sacrificed all of these for God? Then we come to Ali Asghar. Then we read the Musibat, we're reading Ali Akbar, Abbas. Then we know that the children of Imam Hussein, some say there's maybe 10 or 20 children in Karbala of Lady Ruqayyah. What would happen to Lady Ruqayyah going to Sham? So Karbala is full. It is the worst test, the most difficult test that any prophet, that any Imam had. And Imam Hussein's greatest test is Ali Akbar, as we can say. Ali Akbar comes to the battlefield. As you know, Arabs that time, they would give poetry when they'd enter the battlefield. Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali, he would say. Nahnu wa bayt Allah awla bin Nabi. I am Ali ibn al-Husayn, by the house of Allah. We are those rightfully endowed with the Prophet. Tallahi la yahkumu fina ibn al-Da'i. By Allah, the son of the spurious son will not judge us. Adrib bisayfa uhami an nabi an abi. I will strike with my sword to defend my father. Darba ghulamin hashimiyin Qurayshi. I will strike with the blow of Hashimi Qurayshi. And Ali Akbar is coming to the battlefield. Imagine what Imam Hussein is feeling inside when he's seeing his son Ali Akbar for the last time, and he wants to say farewell and go. As he recites, Ali, Ali, the son of Hussein. Ali, Ali, the son of Hussein. Your face radiates the land of Karbala. You are identical to Rasulullah, Ali. Your father's tears seeps through the sands. Imam Hussein is crying and his tears are falling to the sands of Karbala. The angels are amazed how Hussein still stands. Adi, Adi, the son of Hussein. Adi, Adi, the son of Hussein. When their swords cut you, Irban, Irba. The musibat of Adi Akbar was he was cut into pieces. Slashed was the heart of Ibn Zahra. His world that was not wafa, Hussein cries, ala dunya ba'daka al-afa. Let there be dust on the world after you, Adi. Adi, Adi, the son of Hussein. Adi, Adi, the son of Hussein. All the companions have been killed, covered in dirt, covered in blood. It is the last hour of Imam Hussein. His time has come. It is the Jihad Akbar of Imam Hussein. It is the time of farewell of Imam. It is the time of farewell of Ali has been reached. It is the time of Imam Hussein. Separates himself from the light that he has raised. From the tears of Imam Hussein, it is apparent that when he has let you go, that what he has bared. The champion that is battling thirsty in the middle of the oceans of the enemy, from every side showers blades and arrows. My heart also has become Irba cut into pieces. At that time, Ali ibn al-Hussein goes to the battlefield. May Allah accept all your mourning. May inshallah, all when we're reciting this, all our parents, our grandparents, those that are dead, family and friends, inshallah, they benefit from this. Ali ibn Hussein comes to the battlefield. The Kufans are afraid to kill him. He kills many people. They were trained by Imam Hussein. He was trained by Abbas. He comes. Then Murra ibn Munqidh comes. He says, may the felonies of the Arabs come on me if he gets past me doing the same as he is doing, if I do not deprive his mother of him. Ali ibn Hussein continued to attack the enemy as he has been doing. Then Murra ibn Munqidh comes and stabs Ali Akbar. He was struck down. The enemy fell upon him, cutting him into pieces with swords. فجاء الحسين حتى وقف عليه. Then Imam Hussein comes to Ali Akbar, standing over him. فقال قتل الله قوما قتلوك. May Allah kill the people that have killed you. Then he says this famous sentence, ثم قال, from the مقتل, ثم قال على الدنيا بعدك العفا. After you, may there be dust on the world. The world has no more meaning for me that I do not have you, Ali Akbar. وخرجت زينب أخت الحسين مسرعة تنادي. Then Zainab comes running, yelling, Ya Ukhayya, oh my brother. She first says, oh my brother, then says my nephew. She knows what happened to Imam Hussein. Ya Ukhayya, wa ibna Ukhayya, wa ja'at hatta akabbat alayh. She comes and falls upon the body of Ali Akbar. فأخذ الحسين برأسها فردها. Hussein takes her and says, go back إلى القسطاط. Go back to the tents. وأمن القياف. And tells her to come back. Then Imam Hussein yells and asks the Bani Hashim. He says to them, فَقَالَ احْمَلُوا أَخَاكُمْ. Take your brother. فَاحْمَلُوا حَتَّى وَضَعُوا مِنْ يَدِهِ. Our scholars say, why did Imam Hussein ask the Bani Hashim to come and get their brother? Because it was not the job of one person. Many people had to come to get the parts of Ali Akbar. One part maybe his hand, one part maybe his leg. فَوَضَعُوهُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ الْقُسْطَاطِ. They put his body parts in front of the tent. الَّذِي كَانُوا يُقَاتَلُونَ أَمَامًا. The same tent which they had been fighting in front of. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Allah, make us, inshallah, our sins forgiven by the honor of Ali Akbar, inshallah, the sins of our parents and our grandparents, our family members, inshallah, all be forgiven. But the great sacrifice of Ali Akbar and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Matam al-Hussein, inshallah.
علي راح يا زينب قوم سنديني علي راح علي راح تعالي وعاونيني بشد الجراح